Have you ever stopped and wondered why we're told to manage type 2 diabetes for life when many people are putting type 2 into remission? Now stay with me because the last point I'll make is probably the most important thing you'll have ever heard about type 2 diabetes. My name is Andrew Sheppard. I've spent more than a decade helping people put their type 2 diabetes in remission. And I want to start with something that might sound controversial. I don't believe type 2 diabetes is best described as a chronic progressive disease. I think it's better described as carbohydrate intolerance. Now, before anyone gets angry in the comments, hear me out. Let's talk about HbA1c, because once you understand HbA1c, type 2 diabetes becomes much easier to understand. HbA1c is simply a measure of how much glucose has been traveling through your bloodstream over the last roughly 90 days or so. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. If your HbA1c is high, it means too much glucose has been passing through your bloodstream. If your HbA1c falls, it means less glucose has been passing through your bloodstream. Simple. Now let's ask an obvious question. Where does the glucose come from? And many people think glucose comes from sugar. And yes, sugar absolutely contributes. But the reality is all digestible carbohydrates eventually become glucose. So bread, rice, pasta, breakfast cereals, oats, potatoes, crackers, biscuits, most of it ends up as glucose, which means from a blood sugar perspective, your body isn't nearly as interested in food labels as you think it is. Your bloodstream doesn't read marketing claims. It doesn't care whether something is organic, whole grain, heart healthy, low fat, or recommended by some celebrity nutritionist. Your bloodstream sees glucose. That's what it responds to. Now, here's where things get interesting. If somebody develops a peanut allergy, we tell them to avoid peanuts, not to take an EpiPen. If somebody develops lactose intolerance, we tell them to avoid lactose. But when somebody develops carbohydrate intolerance, and type 2 is carbohydrate intolerance, we tell them to keep eating carbohydrates, and then we act surprised when the blood sugar remains high. Does that make any sense to you? This is why I often say that many people with type 2 diabetes have been given the wrong framework for understanding their condition. They're told the disease is progressive. But what's actually progressing is the amount of glucose they're exposing themselves to every single day. Now, am I saying every carbohydrate is evil? No. Am I saying everyone needs to eat a ketogenic diet forever or be super strict with carbs? No. What I am saying is that lower carbohydrate diets consistently produce the best remission results we've ever seen in type 2 diabetes management. Not because they're magical, not because carbohydrates are inherently poisonous, but because if less glucose enters the bloodstream, HbA1c will fall. And when HbA1c falls, many people enter remission. This is exactly why so many people are shocked when they remove breakfast cereals or they swap toast for eggs, or they replace high-carb snacks with protein-rich real food. Their blood sugars improves, their hunger improves, their cravings improve, their weight improves, and often their medications reduce as well. Now, here's the point I asked you to stay for. The biggest mistake I see people making is believing that remission is super complicated. It's not. Difficult sometimes, yes. Complicated, no. If you understand what raises your blood sugars and what doesn't, you've already won half the battle. That's why I've created my free diabetes remission food guide. It shows you the foods that tend to have the biggest impact on your blood sugars and those that have the least. If you'd like a copy, you'll find it inside my free Facebook group, and the link is below. And if you're interested in type 2 diabetes remission, blood sugar control, weight loss, metabolic health, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click that little notifications button, because I'll be posting every week. See you soon.